Welcome back to our Heal Inside and Out listeners. Today, I'm super excited about this topic because this is something that has served my healing so well. And this is something that we've touched on in other episodes as one way. Dina, you and I have both used this tool in our healing. And Marla is going to join us again as a special guest and uses it in her own context as well. Because again, we've said this before, I believe we're all healing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this tool is journaling. For some people, it excites them. For some people, it overwhelms them. For some people, it's like not a chance.
It's true.
And I think that when you say that word journaling, I think it means so many different things. It brings up so many different things for everyone. So I want to start with you, Dina, and say, what does it bring up for you and how do you do it? Because I know you do
it. Yes, but you are correct. At first, it scared the hell out of me, to be honest with you. I never journaled before, to be honest with you. I was like, who's got time to journal? All right. Little did I know how beneficial it was going to be during my breast cancer journey. And now I am going to be very forthcoming. Do I do it every single day? No, I have to be honest, but I do it the majority of the weeks, like the days of the weeks. So sometimes I do it 4 times a week. Sometimes I do it 5 times a week. But I do something every single night. So I'm going to kind of explain what I do. So I know that there are a lot of people out there that say that journaling should be done within the first 30 minutes, 45 minutes you wake up. That's not me. One of the first things I do when I wake up is, of course, go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, get my workout clothes on, and I go to the gym. I journal when I come back. And while I'm working out, I'm thinking about certain things. Okay. So when I come back, I don't even take a shower. I go straight into my room, which is my office, and I have a nice comfy chair, and I have a beautiful journal that Maggie, you bought me, which I love. And I journal. I write for about 20 minutes. Sometimes it's a little less. Sometimes it's up to 30 minutes. But for the most part, it's about 20 minutes. It's a page or two. And it's not full sentences. It's really, truly just getting out what's bothering me. And it doesn't make sense to anybody. And that's okay, because it only makes sense to me. And that's what's the most important thing about it. And what I write about is all my emotions. And I love the fact that we're talking about journaling after our podcast, the one prior, was about emotions. And one of the things that keeps coming up for me that I journal about more than once is, I'm going to give an example. I can't remember certain things. My memory isn't what it used to be because of my chemo and getting older. So I need to write things down. But if I ask a specific person something and they turn around and say to me, well, I told you that. How come you didn't remember that? It just makes me feel worthless. So what I'll do is I'll write every bad word out there. Why are they talking to me like this? You know, all this kinds of stuff. And I'm like, wait a second. This reminds me of being once again made fun of when I was a child. And then I truly flip it. I always talk about flipping the switch, and I flip it and I say, okay, Dina, you have to write things down. Dina, it's okay that they say that. This is what you're going to say the next time somebody says that to you. So I'll write it out, you know, and then sometimes I laugh about it because it's silly on how I'm writing all these curse words or whatever I'm writing down at the moment, you know, and I get it out because if I don't get it out on paper, it'll sit with me all day and I'll think about it and I'll think about that person. and I'll be like, "Arr," I'm like a bear that didn't eat yet, and I'm just so mad, but it actually calms me down after I write it, and what I do at night, which is something I just truly love to do. And I learned this actually when I was going through my health and life certifications. I write at night before I go to bed 3 things: what I laughed about, one thing that I laughed about during the day, what I accomplished. It could be the smallest things. I got to go grocery shopping, whatever it is. And the third thing is, what am I grateful for? It could be just one word: my girls, my health, my husband, whatever it might be, or I write a sentence. But that's how I journal. And there are many, many different ways to journal. And I know, Maggie, you have your way as well.
Yes, and I'm guessing your way has evolved like mine, and it continues
Yes.
to evolve, right? So
Absolutely, 100%.
that's what I love about that. And I love also how yours has helped you move through emotions. Like you said, in our last episode, we talked about that as being a huge thing. And I definitely use it as a way to move through my emotions as well.
Mhm.
And I have like 3 different core ways that I journal at this time. One of them is my what if practice. And it's sort of like you're flipping the switch, which we both talked about that. But I have, I write the date open up my journal, I write the date, and then I write, I want ... And this is something I want to happen. And most often I base it on something I'm worried about, or fearful about, or stressed about, or overwhelmed about, whatever, something that I want the ideal outcome to be. So that's my flip. And it can be anything from literally just well, not that this is minor, because some days it's major, but as simple as the joint pain in my hand.
Okay.
I want the joint pain in my hand to be less today, or to be gone today, or whatever. Or it could be up to, I want my newly renovated kitchen. I mean, it runs the gamut, right? But then the next thing that I do is I write out, I will ... And that is sort of my accountability piece of what am I going to do to move towards that? Because sometimes we need to either think about it more, we need to let go of the worry if it was a flip from a worry. So I write down, I will. And in the case of the joint pain, for example, I will take I take this Arnicare for my joint pain and my beet pills, which are natural things I use for that. So I will take my stuff and trust that it's going to minimize the pain, and trust being the big word there. And then for the kitchen renovation, that's a whole other set of I wills, right? My husband has to join me in that one sometimes. But this truly helps me set the tone for a proactive mindset versus just jumping into reacting to my day.
Right.
So I really love it. And like, even in the kitchen example, sometimes I'll take more time to journal that out and imagine what it looks like. So I'll explore that in my mind to dream it out a little bit more and, put it out in the universe, because I love to do that. So that's my first way. The other way, I sometimes just write down questions that I want to know an answer to, and I just journal out possible answers or whatever comes to me. And that question and answer thing really helps me explore some things, like, why is it hard for me to let go of working too much? Like, why do I feel this desire to always perform, or some of those things? And then I'll just journal out what comes to mind. That's my Q&A one. And then I have a free form method that I love to do. That's really just, if I do meditate for a period of time and journal after on whatever comes to me, or pull my oracle cards, and then a specific card might speak to me, and I just journal out what came to my mind. So those are my big 3 ways. And again, it evolves. And
it's so true on how it just evolves. Like, you're sitting here speaking about this, and I'm like, yeah, when I talk about what I want that response to be, like the example that I gave, I actually write the words, I'm asking for patience, words of wisdom, calmness, if this should resurface again, kind of thing.
I love that. I love that.
So I get what you're saying about I want, I will, the questions, the answers, and the free forming.
Yeah, I love that.
Absolutely.
I
So
do something-
Marla,
I do
I'm
some-
just scared. I'm so excited to hear what you have to say, Marla.
Well, I was gonna say what you just said, Dina. I do something very similar to that in that I will write out, I also am, my first journaling style is to write out situations that have created an intense emotional reaction to me, or I'm regretting how I reacted to a situation. And what I actually am working on now, because I have teenagers at home, and so there are things that tend to come on repeat, it seems like, scenarios that it's like, oh, that wasn't my finest parenting response, how about I try something different? And I will really I've started to write out the script of, okay, if I was my best self, what did I want to say in that moment? And so if that situation comes up again, I feel like I did say it at some point, because now I've written it all out, it's processed in my head, and now I'm like, okay, if my son comes and says, or my daughter come and say, well, it's not fair that you're not letting us do X, Y, or Z. Why can't we go to that event? All my friends get to go. How come I don't get to? And, in my worst parenting moments, it's like, because I said so, or I don't care what they get to do. I'm your parent, kind of thing too.
Yes, I remember those days.
Now I'm trying to work through, oh, that must feel very frustrating that you feel other people get to, and I'm saying, no, can we talk about why it's so important to you? And I can explain why I am having a reaction of no to this particular ask. And so it's just more, it allows for less conflict and more conversation. And so I want to get out, exactly what I would want to say. I feel sometimes I feel like I'm a slow processor in the moment, or I just feel like my reaction is very quick. And then it's like, oh, why did I just do, like, I don't have a good pause button sometimes, or that I need that extra time to sort of think through it. And okay, I can give it another direction. I can think about it in a different light. And so
I
that
love
was one
that.
way that,
And before you go on to another way, Marla, I just want to say, I love that, because how many of us say things we want to take back, or do things we want to take back because of the heat of the moment or whatnot. And to be able to take yourself out of that moment and sit down and be with yourself and journal about that, I think is really powerful. So I think that's great.
Yes.
thank you. I always feel inspired by different ways people are doing it. So just talking to both of you and learning how you do it in different conversations that I've had with lots of people, it's like, that's why we talk about this stuff, right? Because hopefully one of our listeners will also go, oh, I never thought of that. That's a great way.
Exactly.
I had someone once say it to me, well, I don't journal because I don't want anyone else to, I'm not a good writer. And what if they read it? And I was like, whoa, what? I write in an ugly, cheap spiral bound notebook. And if it's something that I'm really processing, I'm just working through an emotion, I'm getting it out of my head. It's like scribbled, like Dina said, there's not good language in there, maybe. And if it's really a thing I had to work through on paper, then I will just rip it out and go shred it, or, burn the whole book when you're done. I don't know, but like you are not writing a memoir. I mean, yes, some people are, but you don't have to. I have good journals too, and I will write things that inspire me, or quotes or poems or things that I love that just bring me joy. And then I will sit down in my nice journal and write those in nice ink, versus the daily stuff that I'm doing is just like scribbles and not even complete sentences. Maybe it's just getting thoughts out of my head, like processing this emotion, and what am I going to do with it? I'm mad. Why am I mad? And I'm learning stuff about myself, like what set that off? Why did that just create this intense emotion in me? Because as I work through it, as I write it out, I kind of keep pushing myself, like, no, why did that bother me? I write out a sentence. It's like, there's that factor of, like, I don't know, someone said once, like, ask yourself that question 6 times and you'll get to the, you keep
Yes.
digging, you just keep digging. And yeah, so it just, I learned stuff about myself that helped me then heal from it in a way, because it's like, oh, okay, well, that's coming from something in my youth, or that is coming from something uh a long time ago, whatever that may be, and now I can work through that because I never thought of it before. I didn't have that awareness until I was in it.
I love that.
And that's also the key, self-awareness. I love that word, or self-responsibility, as we've said in another episode.
Yes.
Well, and I love that you both said you kind of start it in the morning or you do something at night. And I guess I kind of am writing all day long in different ways. Again, mostly scribble notes or lists or things like that. But I do find it helps get it out of my head and preserve a little bit of energy for me, because otherwise, if it's like, oh, I don't want to forget to do that later, or, oh, I got to remember to tell so-and-so that, or don't forget that my daughter has to be here at 5 o'clock. It's like, not the fear of forgetting, or the fear of dropping a ball as a parent, as a partner, as all the roles that we have in our lives. There's just, and jobs and things. It's like, I don't want to drop a ball. So just writing it on paper just empowers me to step back and go, I got it. It's here. I'm not going to lose it. I'm not going to lose track of it. I'm going to have it. And then I can let that go and put my energy on what I need to get done, instead of trying to manage all the lists in my head.
I love that. I love that it's kind of too a mix of like your insights and what you're journaling about to reflect on yourself, but then also some of these things that are getting in the way of that. Just get them out and get them down on paper. I think there's so much power in that. What other personal values are not like that, but just what have we found valuable about journaling? Dina, what about you?
I find it's a relief. It's a release of all these emotions. And when I do it in the morning, and because I let it all out and I let it go, I am calmer throughout the day. And if something starts to resurface that I let go of in the morning by journaling, I'm like, I'll look back at the journal.
Oh, I love
look
that.
at what I wrote. Or every once in a while, like I could be sitting at my desk and I have a notebook that I write that has notes, messages, things to do. And if it resurfaces, I'll just write a little bit more right then and there.
Oh,
and it's just a couple of words. It's just, how I'm feeling. It's nothing traumatic. It's nothing huge. It could be just a couple of words, practically, Or if I'm on the computer, I've noticed I keep a document open and I just type it out every once in a while. That's something new that I've tried, because right in the middle of what I'm doing, if something surfaces, it's just like, wait a minute, I don't want this here right now. I'm concentrating on this. Go away. And how it goes away is either I write it out or I just type a few words,
I love that it marks the awareness. It marks for you. Then if you notice it again, then you can, it just.
Right. Yeah. So once again, it's the resurfacing of certain things, trends, emotions, whatever it might be. And you're, like you said, you're self-aware of it now.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've done that too on my computer, and this is a little different take on journaling, if you will, but when I was talking earlier about sometimes I'll write out how I wish I would have reacted with my son or daughter, and next time I want to prepare, or if that same request or complaint or whatever is happening in the moment. But I've also I've typed up letters on my computer for both my kids at different times where we had some sort of misunderstanding or argument or whatever might be the case, or where they're upset with me because they disagreed, and I will write out a letter I'll type out a quick letter to them just explaining why I'm struggling with it and what my points are, because I do feel sometimes people can read that, they can't hear it from you as a teenager and a
I love
parent.
that. I love
That's a
that.
great idea.
And
Just
what
to
it,
share, in a
Yeah.
different capacity.
well, Marla, it made me think about like one of the huge values I get out of the huge benefits I get out of journaling is just fostering meaningful conversation with myself,
Mhm.
because I make it a priority to try to have meaningful conversation with others, but to take that inward is not as much of a priority for me often enough. And it's interesting because what you just made me think of is when you said sometimes they can't hear it, but they can read it. I remember an exercise I did a few years ago that was so powerful, and I keep thinking I should do it again, but it was every day I journaled out a letter from God to me. So it was 30 days of what would God say to me right now in my context of my day or what's going on in my life. And it was so fascinating because he would never say something unloving. So, regardless of your religion or your beliefs or
Right.
whatever, this isn't about denomination or anything, but who your higher power or what you believe in, it wouldn't be unloving. So how do I have loving conversations with myself? It was just a fascinating exercise it ties back to my Q&A process where I just will ask myself a question and then I will try my best to lovingly answer it.
Wow. That actually brings up a very good point about compassion and loving yourself, because that's one of the things that I learned through journaling is how to love myself. When the situation occurs, like I mentioned earlier, and how am I going to respond to it? It's because I love myself.
Mm-hmm.
I am worthy of the respect, whether I have a disability or not, or a memory issue or not. It doesn't matter. It's things like that. Yes, I'm worthy of respect here. And that I learned very quickly with journaling is how to love myself.
Yeah, I love that.
And there's no right or wrong way to do this.
None. And that's a great point. I think that.
And we all just showed all the different ways that we do it.
Right. And there's a million more. And I will say that I used to not journal as much because I worked so hard to get it right. I felt like, okay, I need the correct structure or the correct journal or the correct pens and markers and maybe stickers. And so for me, it came back to making it pretty, making it presentable, making it nicely organized. And then I would get stuck. I'd even get paralyzed. So I wouldn't do it.
Right.
I've learned to let go of that. And
Right.
that, it falls right in line with what you're saying about there's no right or wrong way. And they don't have to be pretty. The color doesn't have to be perfect. The ink doesn't have to be perfect. If you don't have that right sticker, let it go.
It's like what you both say, like your healing is unique to you, just your journey is unique to you, and your journal is also unique to you. It is your experience and how you want what works for you.
Right. And I love what you said earlier, Marla, about no one has to see it. You could rip it up, you could burn it, you could put it through the shredder. Who cares?
Yes.
As long as, to me, and this is my personal opinion, the bottom line is it's how it makes you as the individual feel.
Yes, I love that. And I will end here with what we believe and what we say with journaling. It is an inside job. It is a unique individual, personal job. And healing is inside and out, and journaling helps facilitate that.
100%.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, Marla.
Thank you, Marla.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you found value in today's episode.
And remember to share your real and raw insights with us by going to healinsideandout.com, where you can also find additional information and resources.